I've made so much money on PrizePicks, I actually got limited to only $5 per slip or $25 per day. In 2024, I made over $32,000 on PrizePicks before I got limited, and I used these core 3 strategies to do so. In just under 2 weeks of this month, I have made over $1,500 sports betting on limited DFS accounts. This does not include my sports books and exchange bets, just the DFX books I use the exact same strategy on PrizePicks with. I'm going to show you the core 3 strategies I use to not only build profitable PrizePicks slips, but to actually make money long term. There is a very simple math behind making profitable slips and actually making money on PrizePicks, and I'm going to show you step by step how to do it in this video. We'll start off with the very simple strategies to understand, and then we will go deeper into the most sharp strategies you can use on PrizePicks today. The first thing you need to understand about DFS apps like PrizePicks is they are a 50-50 payout platform. You can choose more or you can choose less, and you get the exact same payout no matter what side you choose. If you build a 2-man parlay, for example, you will get a 3x payout no matter which side you choose, more or less or more. As long as you put 2 props on a slip, you're going to get a 3x payout. Where on sportsbooks, you actually get American odds. For example, on FanDuel for this exact A'ja Wilson prop, under or over 9.5 rebounds, you would actually get -110 for the over and -120 on the under. Now, as you can see, just off of FanDuel, it is slightly more favored on the under than it is the over. Whereas on PrizePicks, you can actually get the same exact under or over for the same price. They don't traditionally give you American odds like sportsbooks do. They actually just give you over or under and make you build a parlay. Now, because you can't straight bet with American odds like you can on FanDuel or any other sportsbook, you have to build parlays. Now, that being said, there's actually a profitable parlay type that you should be building every single PrizePicks slip. But the first thing we need to understand is how to find the profitable PrizePicks squares, right? For example, this A'ja Wilson square, the over or the under. Initially, a casual bettor will be looking at 8.5 thousand people are taking this bet. And if you look at the last 5, the last 3, she has soared over the 9.5 rebounds. 2 of the games hitting 15 rebounds. Now, for casual bettors, 90% of the time, they're going to take the over, and 90% of the time, they're going to tail the last 5. As you can see, the last 5 obviously looks really good for the over on 9.5 rebounds, as she has hit 15 out of 2 of the last 3 games. But something sharp bettors do is completely ignore this last 5 and absolutely avoid the popular board like the 8.5 thousand people that are taking this bet. Now, the reason being is because 95% of the time on this popular board, these are terrible props to take, and I'm going to show you exactly why. Quickly before we continue, if you want every single play I make with this strategy, you can get a 5-day free trial with the link below. And if you want to try Upside Tools completely free as well, you can get a 5-day free trial with the link below that. And you can also use code ICON at checkout and you'll get 25% off any tool you choose. For example, this over that everybody is going to be taking on this WNBA prop tonight, you can just see on FanDuel, even slightly, it is actually more favored on the under at -120, and it is less favored on the over at -110. So initially, if you just go back to PrizePicks and click more or less, you're getting less of a favorite if you just take the more side. Now, that is just according to FanDuel, but FanDuel is a sharp $1 million company that set their lines almost perfectly every single player prop. But the thing is, for both of these apps, FanDuel and PrizePicks, something they have in common is they actually add so much tax or house edge into every single prop. And we can use this prop as an example. -110 on the over and -120 on the under. So if we go to a NoVIG calculator that Upside Tools actually has, you can take a look at the top and put -110 and at the bottom put -120. That's the exact American odds we're getting over on FanDuel. If you see -110 and -120, it actually DVIGs, or the NoVIG odds, are +104 and -104. Now, what this essentially means is the initial implied odds of -110 and -120 was 52.3% of the time going on the over and 54% of the time going on the under. Now, that actually equals more than 100%. You can't have 2 outcomes and get more than 100%. If you flip a even coin, 50% of the time it lands on heads, 50% of the time it lands on tails. You can't actually land on heads or tails more than 50% of the time, because you can't have more of 100% of an outcome when there's only 2 different outcomes. That is the house edge that they add onto every single bet. Anything over 100% is house edge, or aka VIG. As you can see in this exact bet, there is 6.93% extra VIG on this exact player prop. Now, what this means is if you take the over or the under on FanDuel, there is a 106.93% chance that you land on either of them. But unfortunately, there's only 2 outcomes, which means you're getting 6.93% extra tax on that exact player prop. When we take that 6.93% tax away, you get a fair odds of 48.99% or 51.01%. 2 percentages that actually equal 100% of the time. Now, every American odds has a probability. For example, -110, its implied odds is 52.38%, and +104, its odds are 48.99%. 100%. So what we need to do is remove the extra 100% probability, which is the 6.93% VIG, and you'll get fair odds of 48.99% and 51.01%. Now we take a look and see what the actual odds are, or the fair odds of this player prop. And as we can see, plus 104 on the top and minus 104 on the bottom. So if we go back over to FanDuel, we'll notice we had minus 110 and minus 120. These are not fair odds. These are very juiced odds, very taxed odds, okay? Odds with a lot of VIG. If we now remove that VIG and remove the house edge that FanDuel has, we should get plus 104 on the top or minus 104 on the bottom. Now, for anybody who's ever bet on a sportsbook, you'll know that plus money equals an underdog and minus money equals a favorite. So the over is actually a little bit of an underdog and the under is more of a favorite. Now, if we go back over to PrizePicks, you'll notice that people are slamming the over, 8.8K now, on this over because of the last 5. But a very sharp player prop book, FanDuel, $1 million company, is saying that the under is actually slightly more favored than the over. But I'm going to explain to you why not only is the over a bad bet, but the under is actually also a terrible bet. And the reason is because of what odds we're actually getting for A'ja Wilson on PrizePicks. Now, believe it or not, over or under, we're actually still getting American odds. It just doesn't show you on the platform. Now, this all depends on the slip type that you're going to build. Let me show you an example. If we build a random 2-man parlay, over or under, you'll see that we get a 3x payout. If we go back over to the parlay calculator on Upside Tools, if we just evenly find out what the American odds are on each prop, we can just make sure it adds up to a 3x payout and find out what those two odds are. For example, if we go in here and we take a look and we put minus 136 on both of these player prop legs, we're going to notice that we get plus 201 odds, which is a 3x payout. If you bet $100, you get $300 payout. That's the exact same PrizePicks payout. If I was to put $100, I get $300 payout. So as you can see on this parlay calculator, minus 136 on leg 1 and minus 136 on leg 2, you actually get a 3x payout. So you're getting an American odd of minus 136 compared to the minus 110 or the minus 120 on FanDuel. So just like FanDuel, they have very juiced odds. Now, as you can see, if you take the over or the under on a 2-man parlay on PrizePicks, you're actually getting minus 136 or minus 136. Both odds are worse than what you're getting on FanDuel. So the first point that I'm going to show you is you're actually building the wrong slip types, because a 2-man parlay getting minus 136 odds is the actual worst odds you can get on PrizePicks. So we do not want to build that, because as you can see, even for just a regular prop like this, we're getting terrible odds compared to the over or the under. But when we're building this 2-man parlay, we can either get minus 136 for the over or minus 136 for the under. Now, as we remember, everyone is slamming the over. But if we go back over to our NoVIG calculator, if we take the over, we get plus 104. That is 40 cents different than minus 136. Whereas if we take minus 104, that is only 32 cents difference if we take the under. A lot better if we take the under, but still very, very bad. We're getting 32 cents difference by just building it on PrizePicks instead of FanDuel. So we definitely do not want to take this prop on a 2-man parlay. But I'm going to show you exactly what kind of props we should be taking and exactly what kind of slips we should be building. As you can see, the under is a 51% hit rate. We actually want a much better hit rate on the under or the over. That way we can tailor it on PrizePicks with the right slip types. But now we need to understand what fair percentage we need to be able to beat PrizePicks long term, because 51% is way too low. And those percentages are now on the screen. As you can see, a 5 and a 6 pick flex are the most profitable slip types you can build. You need a 54.3% hit rate on every single prop to be able to be profitable long term building 5 and 6 pick flex plays. So what we need to do is go back to our calculators and find a prop that has a better than 54.3% fair odd hit rate. This one only has a 51% hit rate, so that is a terrible line to take, because even with the most profitable slip type you can build on PrizePicks, you are not going to be able to be profitable long term. I'm going to show you an example of a player prop we should be taking on a 6 pick flex. If we go over to DraftKings, a very sharp player prop book that takes tons of player prop liquidity every single day, we can see that Alicia Gray is on the over at minus 141 and the under at plus 104. So what we want to do is go back to the calculator and put in minus 141 and plus 104. Now, as you can see, a fair odds on the over at 54.41% and an under of 45.59%. So as you can see, that's minus 119 on the over and plus 119 on the under. Those are the type of props we need to be taking on PrizePicks every single day on a 6 pick flex to be able to be profitable long term. Now I'm going to show you exactly how I found this Alicia Gray prop once I'm done explaining the math behind every single prop. Every single PrizePicks square has an over or under with real American odds. You can find those by looking on the sharp sports books like FanDuel, DraftKings, or the exchanges like NoVIG and ProfitX, and you can actually compare your lines to those really sharp sports books and take the ones that are extremely favored, like that DraftKings one we just found. And now that you know that every single square has implied odds, you just need to find ones that have better implied odds than the profitable slip types we need to build. For example, the 6 pick flex, you just need to beat that 54.3% fair odds hit rate to be able to be profitable on PrizePicks long term. And if you're building multiple parlays with this exact hit rate, you are going to be very profitable long term. So the first thing that we've got done is knowing how to actually find profitable sports bets and understanding the math behind them. The second strategy we need to use is following sharp money. And I'm going to show you exactly how to do that right now. I'm now in the Upside Tools Whale Watch tool. So what I'm now going to do is show you exactly what sharp money and whale money actually is and show you how to follow it, right? So essentially sharp money is the sharper sports bettors laying down a lot of money or liquidity on a certain player prop. Okay, this isn't just regular bettors putting this money down on PrizePicks. This is really sharp exchange bettors on NoVIG, ProfitX, or even Polymarket and Kalshi. They're laying down a lot of money or liquidity on every single player prop, and we can actually track what side they're choosing and see if we can actually beat their odds that they're currently getting. That may seem really complicated, but I'm going to get into it. So this bet is indicating we should be taking the over on 0.5 assists. And the reason we should be taking the over is because there's 2.6k liquidity on it. That is $2,600 of whale money, not traditional sports bettors, but ones that are on the sharp exchanges. So there is 2.6k more on the over than there is on the under. So essentially what happens is on these exchanges, because it is public, we can see that 2.6k was bet on the over because there is now 2.6k available to take on the under. When somebody bets on the over, there has to be another peer that can take the under bet. So when they bet 2.6k on the over, somebody is now available to take the 2.6k on the under. For example, if we take a look, plus 233, there was a bet of $483. There is now an available side on the minus 233 side to actually take that bet for $483. So essentially, if I place a bet on Michael Elise on the over 0.5 assists at plus 233 on Kalshi, there has to be somebody that fills my bet on the other side. And the other side of that would be minus 233. The NoVIG odds of plus 233, right? There's no juice or no tax. There's an exact opposite of 100% probability. So essentially, all we need to do is follow this whale money tool. 2.6k is being shown that 233, 245, 257, all of these numbers are getting blasted for 2.6k liquidity. So we're actually getting this exact bet that all of these bettors are putting 2.6k total liquidity down on for a much better price. We're getting it for plus 285 over on DraftKings if we take his over assists. So what that essentially means is everybody is putting a lot of money down on this player to go over his assists at a worse price than we're getting. So not only are we line shopping this exact price, plus 285 instead of plus 233, 245, 257, but we're also following 2.6k whale volume, which is probably one of the strongest convictions that this player is going on the over assists. Now, every bet obviously doesn't hit, but line shopping plus having whale conviction behind it is one of the sharpest strategies you can use on PrizePicks. If we wanted to do this exact strategy on PrizePicks, all we would have to do is go to all books, go to DFS books, and you'll see every DFS books that has a current play on. As you can see, there's no PrizePicks bets on the board currently, but I can show you exactly how to do it with Underdog. There's $890 of volume on this exact bet for a much worse price than the plus 518 we're getting on Underdog. So I would want to take this exact bet for plus 518 on Underdog because there is over $500 of liquidity. That is my key indicator that this is a sharp bet. Anything over $500 of liquidity on a player prop, I want to take on PrizePicks or any DFS app. Now that being said, once I know there's more than $500 of liquidity on a single player prop, I actually now want to line shop. I can actually see every single sharp sports book that I should be line comparing to. Just like the first strategy where I'm going to FanDuel, DraftKings, NoVIG, ProfitX, and making sure I'm getting a better price, I want to do the exact same thing with much more confidence because I now have $500 or more of liquidity on this player prop. As you can see, if we take a look at DraftKings, plus 400, we're getting a much better price on Underdog. As you can see on NoVIG, on Polymarket, ProfitX, all the sharp exchanges, we're getting a much better price at 518 than we are 365 or 355. And then if we just take an overall consensus, the only book that's even close is Fliff, but they are a very soft book when setting their lines. So all of the sharp market is about right here, and we're getting a much better price at plus 518. So we have now line shopped this play, and we have also followed $890 of whale volume on this exact player prop. These are the two exact strategies I've used to actually profit this kind of money every single month. But the problem is we need a lot more volume. And that's the third strategy, putting in enough volume of bets every single day to actually be profitable long term. Because if you remember correctly, we actually need fair odds of 54.3% on PrizePicks 6-mans to be profitable long term. But that means every single player prop hits at about 54% rate. That is a very low hit rate when you're putting 6 of those on one parlay. So when you build a 6-man with 54% hit rate props, you're going to hit anywhere between 4 and 7% of the time, depending on every single player prop odds. So essentially, if you only put in one 6-man, you only have about roughly a 5% chance to hit. But that 5% chance to hit actually has a huge amount of plus EV. And plus EV is expected value. If you place $5 on that slip, you're expected to win a much higher percentage because you're building a player prop slip type that is very profitable. So what we need to do is build as many of these 6-mans we can every single day. And that's where the plus EV sniper tool over on Upside Tools is the best strategy to use for this volume. You can actually take a look and see that there is 5 different PrizePicks props active right now that you can take that have plus EV. And as you can see, every single prop has plus EV according to my custom map prop weights. These map prop weights are essentially NoVIG Profit X, DraftKings, and FanDuel being weighted a lot more than the regular soft books like Caesars, Hard Rock, and Fanatics that don't set their lines as sharp as the other sportsbooks and exchanges. So essentially, now that we've weighted every single player prop differently according to the sharper market, we have now been able to see that this has a 3.2% EV, 1.6% EV, 0.4% EV, 0.10% EV, and 0.10% EV. Anything with plus EV you should be putting on your slip. The more props you have on a slip, the better it is. Because what we remember is a 5 and a 6 pick flex are the most profitable slip types we can be building. So if we take these 5 exact props and put them on a 5 pick flex, that's the best parlay type we can be building right now. But the best part is about this volume is we can do this in under 10 seconds. If we just click the 5 action buttons right here and we go ahead and open bet slip, we can see we have a 5.8% EV with a 5% chance of hitting, and we can enter on PrizePicks with a one click of a button. Now, because volume is the most important thing you can be doing when building out these profitable slips, I've actually built a Discord that sends the most profitable slip types you can build over on PrizePicks. And not only do we build these exact profitable slips on PrizePicks for you every single day, we actually do it for every single DFS app. We also do it for the sportsbooks and the exchanges, so that way you have an all-in-one access to getting the most profitable bets you can put in when sports betting. And as you can see, we actually have been hitting on every single DFS app, sportsbook, and exchange because we use the most profitable slip types and the most profitable hit rate props every single day. We are going to be building out the most profitable slips you can build every single day, all for you, and we send it with a notification every single play. Put the play in every single time we put one in, and you'll be able to actually profit just like I did and get limited on PrizePicks. And lucky for you, because this Discord actually posts every single app, once you get limited on PrizePicks, we have over 15 more different sportsbooks you can make money on. We use this exact simple strategy of following sharp money and line shopping on every single book. That way you use the exact same strategy every single sportsbook. Everything I have taught you on PrizePicks you can use on every single DFS app, and it goes for every single sportsbook. You should be line shopping and following the sharp whale money. So if you do want to join my Discord, there is a 5-day free trial with the first link in the description. And if you want to try out Upside Tools for 5 free days, you can click the second link in the description, use code ICON at checkout, and you'll also get 25% off your first subscription. You'll be able to build the exact same plays I'm building with Upside Tools for completely free for the first 5 days. If you did enjoy this video, make sure you like, subscribe, and turn on your post notifications. That way you don't miss another one just like this. And once again, if you do want a 5-day free trial, both links in the description, and you can use code ICON at checkout at Upside Tools, and you'll get 25% off.